Yeah. And the other game on Wednesday night, man, I love seeing it. I really do. I love seeing these Wednesday night. And this is a new staple. We didn't have this last year in college football. First season, we see this where we've got these Wednesday night in October. Usually it's a MAC night. We think of Wednesday, Tuesday night college football as MAC conference action. But no, this year they've got this new Conference USA contract. So we get these Conference USA games now on a Wednesday night. And we have another one here on Wednesday night from CUSA, Florida International and New Mexico State. New Mexico State, 6.5 point home favorites, 50.5, 51 is the total here in this game. New Mexico State, 2-3. Florida International, believe it or not, 3-2. Now, if you look at Florida International's 3-2 record, could quibble a little bit about the schedule, but you can only play who you've been up against. And this team's not only 3-2 straight up, but 3-2 against the spread. More importantly, 3-1 against the spread as an underdog this season. The only time they did not cover in the dog roll was their last game against Liberty. So that is something to keep in mind going into this game against New Mexico State, especially with them catching points. It was an ugly game, though, 38-6 for Florida International, their last game against Liberty. They did not play out last week, so it's like a mini bye week for both of these teams entering this game. Caden Salter and the run game for Liberty really got going against Florida International. It is worth noting, Keon Jenkins here, Kewan Jenkins, I should say, for Florida International, took over at quarterback for Grayson James in that last game against Liberty. And to be quite honest with you, I don't blame Mike McIntyre for making the, first of all, he's a head coach I respect, I like. I think he's doing his amazing job, really, with a program that was just in shambles when he took it over. And for them to already be somewhat competitive here this year, you give him credit. I don't question his decision-making like I do some moron coaches. And when he says that Grayson James not, playing well, I'm going to go to Kewan Jenkins instead, I think it's not a bad move. We'll see how he does here. We'll see where he goes with the quarterback spot, because I don't think it's been confirmed that he's making the switch this week too. It might have been just a benching for that game. But if you had to ask me what my gut tells me I think Kewan Jenkins is probably going to start here against Florida International. And, he's still got to improve. He's got to still do better than what we saw against Liberty. Liberty's a pretty good team, though. 9 for 21, 133 yards. You got to be more efficient than that. But, man, Grayson James just was not doing anything in the passing game. So, to me, you almost had by default to make this change and see at least what Jenkins could give you at quarterback. On the New Mexico State side, entering this game, they are coming off a hard-fought loss on the island against Hawaii, 20-17 a couple weeks ago. They've alternated wins and losses to start the year. They had that very disappointing home opener against UMass, losing 41-30. They crushed Western Illinois, an FCS team after that. They lose by 16 at Liberty. So these two teams have a common opponent, both of them losing straight up in ATS to Liberty. New Mexico, they get a 27-17 road win, pretty impressive. And then 20-17, they lose against Hawaii. Again, this has that feel to just have that bad memories, Connor, of that first game where here's New Mexico State, home favorite, 6.5. I think they are the better team, and I still think they are the better team here, but they didn't play well. They couldn't stop UMass. They lost outright as a 6.5 point favorite. Florida International has been good in the underdog role. This is another one, just like the last game. I'm leaning underdog here with the Florida International Golden Panthers, and a team that you can even go back to last year with this squad, has been pretty good in the underdog role. Even last year, Middle Tennessee, the last game of the season, 19.5 point dog. They lose by 5. They were starting to cover some numbers down the stretch last year. I think it's a competitive game. As much as I like what New Mexico State can do offensively, we have seen them at times struggle defensively. This maybe is an offense they can contain, because it's not like Florida International's lit it up necessarily, but it's just, for me, difficult, even with this improvement under Jerry Kill, since he's been there since the beginning of last year. And I like Diego Pavia at quarterback, but it's still, for me, difficult to lay almost a touchdown with this team. And that first game against UMass is proof of that. What do you think here, CMAC? Wednesday night, FIU, New Mexico State.
Yeah, New Mexico State here, back at home. This should be a decent spot, after the game in Hawaii and the week off. Both these teams kind of got beat up by Liberty. That's a common opponent. They both got took into the woodshed there. New Mexico State, I just think it's too many points. This was one I was hoping was just over the touchdown with FIU, because one thing they've struggled with on their side is their offense. They just haven't been able to score. I think they're around 105th all D1 when I was going through it this morning. It's just been very tough for them to score. This is another one. These offenses aren't great. And New Mexico State got gashed against UMass. I was kind of like, wow, what the hell was that? The defense seemed to be better the last few weeks. I lean under in this game as well. I think this total's too high.
Yeah, leaning under here. And by the way, this opened 5.5, 6, and I'm even seeing 6.5. Bookmaker, DraftKings, couple books have moved to 6.5 here. I think if you like FIU, you wait, because you might be able to get this up to 7. And you know what I think people are seeing, and why the Aggies have taken some money here, is because you look at one matchup that would have to concern you: a run-heavy New Mexico State offense, by far run-heavy. They throw it, a lot more effectively than they do throwing. That they run the ball a lot more effectively than they do throw the ball, and they're averaging 202 rushing yards per game, 6.2 yards per carry. Well, guess what? FIU's run defense has been not too good. 5.2 yards per carry allowed, 214 rushing yards per game allowed. So I worry about that matchup a little bit. Even though I'm leaning FIU, I worry about that run defense, and New Mexico State primarily a running-based offense. So might be able to take advantage of that.